They scored 70. It was Bethune-Cookman. It's a win. It's the Mario Cristobal era off to a great start. We got the Wholesome One here to talk Miami football, folks, on a Thursday afternoon. Wholesome One, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I mean, we talked about it for the longest, Mark, that we are finally here to the point where all the talking is done. It's about football. And we've had a chance to review the film. We've had a chance to see what the Mario Cristobal era actually looks like. We see the intensity of our head coach and the way that he plays and the way that he coaches, the way these young men play. And we got a bunch of opinions, some that some people like and some that people think are a bit too harsh. But either way, we'll get to all of that today.
All right. Well, it's Bethune-Cookman. We know the level of competition. That was indicated by the score. We all know what the deal is. So everybody take that into consideration. And obviously the Wholesome One did when he cut up the film. So let's go. We can either go offense then defense, or we can go good then bad. Let's highlight the good. How's that sound? Let's go with the
Yeah,
good
let's talk
first.
some positive. I mean, I feel like it's
Positive.
always good to just start out with the positive. I think that our offense looks very well, and that starts with the offensive line. If you were to watch my live on Monday, you would think Miami lost to Bethune-Cookman because I was so angry. I was so upset. I was fresh off of my first half film breakdown of the Miami Hurricanes versus Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, and I was I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I felt like we threw so much at this, and we didn't get what we what I wanted. But again, let's start out with the positive. Okay, I look at this offensive line, and it makes me smile. As a guy who's played in the fronts my almost my entire career, excluding a little linebacker in there, um, this offensive line plays so well, and there was not a big drop off mark from the first offensive line to the second offensive line. And that to me is, we rarely see that. Now you have to put into conversation. Yes, they're playing Bethune Cookman, but you look at the technique, you look at the anger, the aggression, the leverage, the togetherness. I mean, they played well up front. And I know that Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal could find anything and go, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. But guess what? That's their job. That's what they get paid millions of dollars to do. And even to my trained eye, I was very, very impressed seeing young men like DJ Scaife and John Campbell, people that this fan base had kind of casted off and started to award the new four-star recruit, the shiny new toys that walked in. And you see those guys go out there and play to a completely different level. And it was beautiful. I was thoroughly impressed and super happy for them, man, because they have been the most attacked since I would say since Art Kehoe walked out of here about 4 or 5 seasons ago. The offensive line has been the conversation that it starts and stops with them. I mean, Miami's going to have good running backs. Miami's going to have good receivers. Miami always have a C plus or B plus quarterback. It was the offensive line. That's where the questions started. And there were a couple of seasons. You look at 2017, offensive line was okay. But every year since then, the offensive line has been either mid or bad. This was the first time, even against this level of competition, that I was beyond satisfied with what the young men did up front. And I mean a 9 to 10 deep, not just the starting five, not just one guy on the second team, but both full set of offensive lines played very, very sound football. TVD was not pressured. Do you know how hard that is to do? Not even pressured. They weren't even in the vicinity of Tyler Van Dyke. We didn't even have a TFL on the first or the second offensive line. That kind of stuff there, that's what you take pride in. And that's what you see them playing at a very, very, very high level. So I was very, very impressed with the offensive line in the running game in of itself.
Okay. Any other good points on the offense? I got to think that there was. TVD goes 13 to 16. I think he threw a couple away. And then, of course, the rushing attack, Henry Parrish. We've been waiting to see what he would show after a nice season at Ole Miss. So take on the rest of it.
Running backs, Hey man, God bless him. So happy to see that, Franklin, and I'm smiling because when you get a chance to see all of the hard work that they put in, and you see some people come off of injuries, or you see people who have kind of been counted out, it just feels good to see them succeed. And Thad Franklin was somebody that we, some people in the fan base felt like, well, we've over recruited him. He doesn't fit. We went out and got all these scat backs, and he's just a power back. And so to hear and see the outpour of love for what Thad Franklin did, it just brought a smile to my face, man. I was super happy for that young man because he was one of those guys where you felt like he was kind of out of style in a sense. He's a 6 foot, 6 foot 1, 240 pound back. Okay. Nowadays, that's not as common. Okay, now this is 2010, it's 2001 and beyond, absolutely. But his style of play was thought of to kind of be no longer what is done in today's ball. And again, I will always put this caveat in there because, and it's not for the haters, it's just the truth. We did play a lower level competition, but you still got a chance to play a different team. And when playing a different team, not just a scrimmage, you should be able to glorify the good and be happy for what these young men did well, just as well as you're going to be a critique of what they did bad, and really go in and be critical of what they did on a negative end. So I'm not overhyping anyone that I'm about to praise for the next couple of players. I'm just happy to see them get a chance to do it because it's now they're counting stats, now they're counting points, now the clock is rolling. Okay, you made it through a strenuous strength and conditioning program, strenuous spring ball, strenuous um, fall camp, and now you're able to go out there and reap the benefits of what you sowed over the last 8 to 9 months. So that's why I'm overly happy and excited for our young men. So I'm putting that caveat out there, Mark. I know people are still saying what they want to say. I just want to put that out there because I think that that needs to be said, needs to be said, that because once we get to a couple other players, I'm not going to be as nice. So I just want to be able to put that out there about I'm going to be happy for the good, just like I'm going to be bad and negative when we get to the defense. But anyway, the positive stuff. Uh, not Roscoe Parrish, Henry Parrish. Very happy for him as he's kind of getting reacquainted to his home feel of the humidity, and because he was throwing up on the sideline, and he was kind of beat up because that humidity, man. And I had a couple people who were there that went to watch the game, Mr. Rubicon, Coach Hayes, a couple players that not players, but a couple people called and let me know what was happening, and they were saying, yeah, it was a hot one out there. It was baking. So our young men have to get used to that. And we've been practicing in it, but we've had those cooling chambers on the side to cool you off. We didn't have that. It's game time. You got to go. So it was nice to see all our running backs get a chance to not even be touched, Mark, for about 4 or 5 yards, sometimes 6 or 7. And that to me is the tall tale of a really good offensive line, is when they can separate the front, and then now that back has momentum and he don't get touched until he's at linebackers, sometimes in the secondary. That is a really, really good sign of what's happening there. Move on to the wide receivers, man. They did very, very well. Okay. All the talk of the offseason, the recent talk of the offseason, I will say, was that we couldn't catch a cold, Mark. But these guys go out there and first, second, third walk-ons, nobody dropped the football. So I don't know if that was just the way that the coaches were going after our young men, and that one drop was one drop too many, or two drops was two drops too many. And so they kind of emphasized the fact that we weren't catching the football. But when we got a chance to play, they caught the football. Um, TVD and Jake Garcia and Jacory Brown, they did a very good job of ball location, in my opinion, Mark. They were able to kind of not necessarily throw it in stride where somebody's running 60 yards down the field. We didn't pull that out, but we were able to hit these outs and these curls and these slants. And we were really able to hit them right where they could stretch out, catch it, and bring it in. I didn't see much body catching, which is something that I've never really liked, but you kind of get over it and say, all right, well, if that's what they're going to do, as long as they bring it in. You didn't get a chance to see too much of that body catching. You saw our young men use their hands, stretch out for the ball, bring the ball back in, sometimes create separation against the quarterbacks. Yes, the talent level is going to go up. Yes, we're going to need even more when we get to the conference play, when we get to the great game against Texas A&M next week. We're going to need our guys to take another step. But as far as for first game, I was very, very impressed with what happened from the quarterbacks, wide receivers, offensive line, and running backs. Tight ends, they were more of an extension of the run game. They were really helping in the run blocking. Elijah Arroyo looked really good at run blocking. Skinner had him a nice catch. And, Will Mallory, I don't know if he was battling something or if he was not feeling well, but he didn't look himself. So I'm hoping that he's okay. I don't know if it's due to the injury. Maybe he's out of shape due from being late in back from camp or what, but he didn't really look um, too keen.
Got the wholesome one to break down Miami football. Leave your comments and questions there in the live chat. You know the drill. We're usually with you every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We appreciate everybody being flexible for an early start this week. And Southern Miss is coming up here on Saturday at noon at Hard Rock. All right, wholesome one. When we look at the defense, because I'm guessing you went offensive line, quarterbacks, running backs, you went across the board on the offensive side. So it didn't seem like there were, besides maybe some marginal play at tight end, there were too many negatives at all on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm. Not much at all.
Yeah.
They get execution wise, in my opinion, effort wise, in my opinion, they played a great game on the offensive side of the ball, man. A to A plus execution offensively, defensively. Now, again, caveat. This is the side of the ball I played. This is the side of the ball that I coach. This is the side of the ball that I take personal. And what I watched, I was not happy. And I know, listen, the coaches probably weren't happy at all either from what we watched. Still some of the same players, Mark, some of the same players that we had issues with since they put pen to paper to come here are still some bad players. It's just that simple. Scheme, technique, effort, all that kind of stuff, they still look bad in those levels. And again, if we're going to use the caveat that it's against Bethune-Cookman, don't overhype them, then why would we say that it looks bad? It's just Bethune-Cookman, relax is your response. That doesn't make any sense. You can't have it both ways. We have to get a lot of things fixed on that side of the ball. Again, they only scored 13 points, yes, but when you study the film, when you've watched this game, you understand that the negatives that you see, if you don't have someone to replace that or someone better, then when you go on to play better teams, they can execute against that. Okay. A quarterback getting out of the backfield when you're playing a lesser team may only be a 15-yard game. You go to Texas A&M, that might be a 50-yard game, 60-yard game. Okay. Defensive backs not communicating well in the secondary against Bethune-Cookman may give you a 40-yard over the top, or you may miss the running back out the backfield. Or you play a Carolina team that's averaging 58 plus points. That's touchdowns. And we watched that happen just 2 years ago. Okay. So I get passionate and I get like this, not because I'm attacking the young men, not because I'm attacking the coaches, but I'm hoping that the product in which that we deserve and that we need to see gets better. Now, young men, I said it on Twitter, young men get better over time. Young men get worse over time. Coaches get better over time. Coaches pull playing time, okay? After a while, if you aren't kicking it and you aren't getting it done, these coaches aren't going to waste their time with you if you're not getting it done. And if you listen to a couple of our coaches speak, at the end of the day, they are saying some of them were above the others based on what we did in practice. Now we have game film. You got another week of game film. I believe if we still see some of the same stuff those 2 weeks, I think some changes on that depth chart will be swapped out. It's just that simple. Again, I'm choosing not to say names because those young men have already been attacked personally. And that's not what I'm in the business of doing, is attacking young men. I just think when you talk about and you critique them as football players, that's fair game. Okay, but you start to attack them, their family, that kind of stuff, that's not where I would like to go with it. I'm hoping that all our young men succeed. I want us to win a natty every year. Go 10 straight years winning the natty. I want people to go from being talked down upon to now we're praising them, similar to, like I said, with a DJ Ivy and John Campbell, where I personally had discounted them and said that I think that there are people who are better than them. But you see what good coaching does to players who have potential, and then they turn out to be better players. Some of the players that we have issues with on the defensive side of the ball are still showing a lack of awareness, overstepping, overrunning plays, not freelancing, not playing within the defense. We're not pass rushing properly in our pass rush lanes, which results in quarterbacks getting out the backfield. And I understand everything isn't perfect, but that's where being critical, that's where critiquing, that's where giving grades comes from. Is that you achieve and you strive for perfection, but you will fall short, which is why we grade and which is why we continue to coach and work on these young men so that they can get better.
So the first things that come to mind on the defensive side of the ball would be, you're talking about missed tackles, you're talking about missed assignments.
Yep, all that. I'm talking about an amazing play by Cam Kinchins, and he spikes the football. I'm talking about a dead in the way sack because you timed up the snap count perfectly at the linebacker position and you blitz it and you whiff. Talking about a wheel route, a slant wheel combination from the running back and only one wide receiver over here. And instead of staying where you are and the quarterback hits you in the head with the ball because the wheel route was his number one read, you fall for the slant where you're the linebacker, not the corner, and the running back goes right up the field for a touchdown. It's when you see a lack of awareness. Now, these things happen, but that doesn't mean that you just go, oh, that's all right. It happens. No, it matters now. People's jobs are on the line now. Your chance at playing in the NFL, XFL, CFL is on the line now. That's why we critique. That's why we get fired up about it, because it matters. The mistakes that you make now matter. You missing that running back in a scrimmage has turned into you missing the running back in the game. So we have to go back and look at your practice habits. And if your practice habits and your game habits are the same habits, you cannot be on that field anymore because it shows that this is what you do. You don't get it. So until you get it and until you fix it, you can't play or you can't have high play snaps for us. It's that simple.
Wholesome one, I'm going to bring up a completely random thought that doesn't necessarily have to do with Miami in particular, but it has to do with just about every football game I watch, and it drives me nuts. And you being a defensive line guy, you can explain this to me. Okay. Obviously, especially the edge. So we're talking pass plays, defensive line. Edge rushers, obviously, they're just full bore toward the quarterback. They're either a speed rush or they're putting on some kind of a move or a stunt or whatever. The tackles position may, depending on how much penetration they get, may fall back, obviously be looking for a batted ball, but they're looking for a push to get it into the quarterback's face. All right, I see this all the time, especially out of blitzers. The guy will shoot a gap, he'll be blitzing, and they're going so fast that they miss the quarterback. They get like barely like their hands around his hips and they just spin off because they're going so fast. Mm-hmm. I see this constantly. If they would come down a little bit under control those last couple steps, I see this constantly.
You said it right there. Well, Mark, because, and you see this early on, because guess who can't we hit in camp?
The QB.
Who can't you get anywhere close to in camp? So you see this happen, at least for the first couple of weeks, because for so long, you're used to getting there. And what do you psychological muscle memory? What do? You run right up to them and you stop, shuffle. or you run right past them. Because head coaches, coordinators, you'll get kicked out of practice for getting anywhere near their quarterback. Okay. So, and I look at it from a defensive perspective, how unfair that is, because now we play games on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and my guy does the same thing. Whose fault is that? But to the casual fan or the regular person, they go, "Well, you should know that it's the game, and you should." But it's about what you're constantly doing,
Sure.
especially if you have an offensive minded head coach. You're getting pulled down. He's chewing you a new one in front of everybody. He's calling you undisciplined. If you get anywhere near his quarterback in practice, then you see when these young men, at least for the first month or so, and when you see them get used to it, and you'll see a big drastic change after the first bye or after week 5, week 6, when people are used to getting to the quarterback and bringing the quarterback down. Hell, Mark, for a long time, if you even sacked the quarterback, but you went low and hit him in the leg, that's a 15-yard penalty. If you push the quarterback after you go past him, and now what the LSU young man did, number 11, that was just, I loved it because it was Tallahassee. I wish you would have knocked him out the game. But regardless, that was just stupid. Okay. He just ran and cold cocked him. I personally loved it because I hate that school. But in the game of football, that was just really stupid. What were you even thinking, dude? But whatever, I loved it, personally. But the serious note, it comes from the muscle memory of those kinds of things. Now, does that normally happen? Absolutely. People just, if you don't do it under control, then that's when those kinds of things happen. You're just flying past them, you're not paying attention, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And that's settle down, chop those feet, upfield shoulder, wrap and roll. Okay, or go through them. And it happens more often than people think. Or when it comes to pass rush lanes, Mark, normally you see people as an edge rusher. You have the wide rush, right? Now, I'm not saying rush the passer without your eyes on the quarterback, but you have to have a pass rush pocket presence. What that means is I know that this offensive tackle knows I love to run around. So what do? You see offensive tackles do it all the time. They kick, slide, soft kick, and do what? Right past them, Mark. Push you right past the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you're not even you're flying, and they kick, and this is called a soft set because they're light on their feet because they know you're gonna run around, not through them, and they just let you and your momentum go right past them. What does the quarterback do? Step right up. Tom Brady's made a career out of it the last 8 years. Oh yeah, let him run right past you. Push him right past me. I got you. I'll step right where they were. And I hope that things change with that, but I understand that it will over time because it's not just a Miami thing. It's not just a South Florida. It's what happens in football when you spend that much time not allowing the young men to get anywhere in the vicinity. And it takes them a little bit, and you'll see them kind of take off later on in the season.
Folks, we always enjoy the conversation with the Wholesome One, and he's here every Thursday. So just show some appreciation, like the video, subscribe to his channel, Wholesome One Holloway, and of course, consider the Super Chat contribution as he gives his time and his expertise here on a regular basis.
I tell you what, Mark,
Yep.
Cam came back last
Yes, he
night.
did.
Yeah, I was so happy, man. I was playing fanboy. I was like, what? Cam is. I didn't get a chance to catch it live and just to tell him, thank him for all that he's done. God bless him. I know he's dealing with some stuff and been praying for him. And he said thank you to everybody. And I just, so happy. Somebody I've been watching since before I got a chance to get in this spot. For the people out there that were like, he's the best. Yes, he is, man. Thank you, Cam Underwood. I'm happy that you're back, man. I hope that you're doing even better. You definitely are an inspiration to me, and I hope that you continue to do great things, man. I hope you heal up, and I hope you're here. And I would love to be able to share the screen with you, but it was a real good blessing to be at work and to get that notification and to see that you were back. So I wanted to make sure I said that because there is no divide here. Okay, there is no H1H and Cam. I happen to cover the same team that Cam Underwood does, man. He's a hero of mine, and I love him and I appreciate him. So again, he's amazing, and I hope that he continues to get a chance to be here, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy he was able to come back. So there is no divide. Okay, Cam
No.
Underwood is the man. He's the guy, and we both get a chance to cover the University of Miami. There's no Team Cam and Team Wholesome. It's the fact that we both get a chance to be on Mark Rogers TV, a great platform, and we get a chance to cover the University of Miami football program, in which we both love. Okay, so I want to put that out there because the comments are kind of off. It's like, nah, man, that's not what this is about. We get a chance
No.
to cover football, we get to talk football, and I'm just thankful to have this platform, and I'm thankful that Cam is healthy and he's back. And I just want to say that. God bless Cam.
And I'm the blessed one because on Wednesday I sit here with Cam and we talk Miami football. And then on Thursday I get the wholesome one. And the things that I can say is they're both genuine, they're both authentic, they're both passionate, they both love their team, they're both informative, knowledgeable, they both come prepared. Now they both have their various levels and specific areas of expertise. Of course, the wholesome one with the X's and O's. Cam knows his X's and O's, but the wholesome one, expert in that area as player coach. And of course, Cam recruiting, and I could go on and on about what both of you bring to the table because it's phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's what I love. I love the fact that you give us this opportunity, and it's not about one or the other. You just get to watch back-to-back nights, usually with Thursday night. This week I gotta work, so unfortunately I won't be able to be tonight. So that's why we hopped on early. But you get a chance as a Miami Hurricanes fan. We're one of the rare fan bases that gets two shows. So let's be
You're the
appreciative
only
of
one.
that. Exactly. Let's be appreciative of that, and let's be thankful, and let's be happy. Let's be positive about that, man. Let's not create that kind of stuff because that's not what this is about, man. We both love this you. It's all about that you, man. So I want to say that, and again, I also want to say, I'm hoping and praying for his healing, and I'm just happy to see him back doing what I know he loves to do. And the look on your face, the look on his face, it was like we missed that, and I was happy to see it. Happy to see it.
Yeah, I'm glad that he wrapped it up when he did because I got to say I was getting a little stirred up there. It was
Yeah.
absolutely. So I get asked from time to time, Mark, why do I either get asked or I get criticized? Mark, why do you have two Miami shows? I'm like, it's very simple. There's two reasons why. Because the fans support it. So if we got on here on a second show and like nobody showed up and it wasn't supported, but it is. So Miami fans support it, number one. Number two, I've got two amazing analysts. So why not?
Absolutely. And I know you have no problem. It's not a Miami bias. You have no problem towards if the people in Tallahassee, if those guys could split up and have it two separate, maybe they, it's when you are in a host, it's not about one over the other. Okay, it's about the quality. You want to be able to give out a quality. Not saying anybody else isn't quality. I don't want to come off as being disrespectful. I'm just saying that I think we both do a good job, and I'm thankful for that. But most importantly, I'm just thankful to have this platform, and I try to make sure I'm informed and bring my energy and have my marker ready if anybody wants to have a whiteboard conversation. But besides that, I'm thankful, man. God has blessed me and blessed us, and we should be happy for it, and we are, and we are.
Amen. Wholesome one. We've got a little bit of X's and O's right here. We're from C Smooth 22 about James Williams. I really don't like him in the box, honestly, or blitzing. He can fill that correctly. His angles and discipline are off, but I'm sure our coaches will fix those mental things.
Okay. James Williams had a stellar interception. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, Mark, but
I didn't
he
see it.
happened to be lined up as outside linebacker, just saying, and he caught an interception. Now, You can call that star, you can call that nickel, you can call it in the box safety, whatever you want to call it. And he gets really, iffy about it. He used to quote tweet people, and if they said James Williams is a blah blah blah, he would hop on Twitter and say is a safety. That's the kind of person he is. But this team responds to him. This staff loves him. I mean, he's when he's out there and he's making plays, he can get it done. Here's my only thing. I think that as a seams alley to flat player, what that basically means is your old school weak side linebacker or strong side, depending on where the tight end is run. But being outside of the offensive tackle, but inside of the nearest threat offensively, whether that be a slot, whether that be a tight end that's come out to the slot, or whether that be a wide out number one and you are playing in between. That's what the seam is. I think he does a very good job at that. Yes, I've seen him play one high. Yes, I've seen him play too high. I've seen him come in the box and help them run support. But as far as his highest grades, in my personal opinion, is when he's basically playing in a cover three scheme and he's playing an alley two flats or seams two flats outside linebacker slash strong safety position. I don't see that as a knock. I don't understand why that's viewed as we're attacking him or saying what he can't do. I'm just saying what I've witnessed him do an amazing job at. And I think our coaches put him in position to do well. I think what also scares people off about this, Mark, is when you say linebacker, you also are incorporating the offensive lineman or tight ends getting up to him and him having to get off blocks. Now, he does struggle getting off of blocks, but he hasn't practiced that. He doesn't practice going up against offensive linemen. Well, guess what? If he's an outside linebacker slash strong safety slash star or whatever you want to call it, he's getting off the blocks of receivers. Well, he's 6'5", 225. He can get off the blocks of receivers. And I think that also works very well for him. I think he had a pretty solid game. Was there, and I give him kind of like a B minus grade, where there's some times where I saw him take a bad angle. Did I see him miss a tackle? And I saw him kind of give some lackluster effort because he thought the play was already made. I saw that throughout the entire defense. I don't think that it's fair to just go at James Williams. And I'm only saying this because the question was about James Williams. That's why I'm trying not to specifically say names this year, Mark. I'll talk about the group or the defense. I'm not going to specifically say names. Why? Because that can be viewed as I'm attacking a specific young man, but I'm answering a question about him. So therefore, I'm talking about James Williams. It's just, I think he can be a good player. I know he can be a good player, and I think that this staff can put him in position. But I agree, moving forward, I think that we should have him as an alley flats guy, and I think that we should put him in position to be successful. And I trust Coach Kevin Steele to do so.
Wholesome one, did you get a chance to check out anything with Southern Miss? And I bring up Southern Miss because I haven't seen them play. I was mentioning to Cam last night that Southern Miss had a really good football program for decades. Jeff Bowers, in particular, down there in the 90s into the 2000s. When I was down in Mississippi, I didn't cover Southern Miss, but we showed their highlights, and they were close. They've been a down football program, and I haven't seen them play much recently. But I check out the stats from game one, and there's an obvious component there that I don't know if they're running a triple option or what kind of offense they're running, but okay. It sure looked that like it just from looking at the box score when they're throwing 13 passes and they're throwing 5 to their guys and 3 to the other guys. And they're running the ball 54 times.
Yeah, it's an inverted veer, triple option, read option, RPO kind of scheme, even to the point where a name that is very familiar to the Miami Hurricanes fan base,
Sure.
just add Junior behind it. Frank Gore Jr. is there at Southern Miss, and he fits their scheme very well. They're a run first team, run second team, run third team, pass if we have to kind of team. Even to the point where he plays the Wildcat quarterback. Okay, he is their entire scheme offensively. Now, he's a tough young man to beat. He's a young man that he's a natural runner of the football. Now, what I mean by that is you don't see him run where it's like doom, 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 like his feet, where he kind of gallops on his feet. He's very light on his feet, can change direction quick. What the issue is that I foresee for Miami in this particular game, run gap discipline. Now, our run fits against Bethune-Cookman was good, was very, very good. If you were to exclude quarterback run, Miami gave up 1.3 yards per rush. Now, that stat is not, I can't take credit for that. I heard that in the Coach Kevin Steele presser. So thank you, Coach Kevin Steele, for that. Okay. But Miami, we did a good job as far as fitting the run. Okay. What fitting the run means, that term is run fits, run gap, sound gap integrity, all these fancy terms. What that means is you are supposed to be in this gap, you man this gap, and you were not moved from that gap, and you did not allow the person with the ball to get positive yardage through your gap. That's all that means. All right. So if I am a gap defensive tackle, which is referred to as a nose or a 2-eye or a one technique, what that meant was in the double teams that I got, I did not get moved out of the way, which resulted in the running back going up the A or the B and linebackers getting climbed to for positive yardage. That would not be gap integrity. That would not be run fit. Okay. Those, again, these terms are just fancy terms so people sound all smart and stuff at coaching clinics. Okay. What that means is this is my gap. You didn't go up my gap. I did my job. Now, it gets a little different when you move to the linebacker position. Now, if I'm in the 30 position, a 30 means the outside shade of the guard, but I'm off the ball as a linebacker. Okay. When they went up my B gap, I either put my head in there and made it bounce, or the defensive lineman did a good enough job to where it was just right at the line, and I just came and helped push the pile and things of that nature. We have to have that because Frank Gore Jr. and the Southern Miss offensive coordinator does a very, very good job in creating ways for him to get open. Okay. So they would do counters, powers, where they're moving offensive linemen or they're reading backside ends or even defensive tackles. And if you don't just kind of this isn't one of those games where we need to be shooting gaps and flying and blitzing. This is one of those games where you sit and you man your position so that when he commits, now we disengage and we go to the ball. Because he likes to get up to the line and see if that DN is flying down. He'll put a foot in the ground and go backside or spin out and go backside. He'll read, the quarterback will read. If that DN is slamming down on him, that quarterback will pull it. Okay, so we have to be really in the scheme and in our run fits. I think Miami's going to win. Miami's going to do well. I'm not trying to create Southern Miss into being Ole Miss. I'm not trying to say Southern Miss is the eventual national champions. I'm not trying to overdo it. What I'm saying is they're going to test us in something that Bethune-Cookman didn't test us in. All right. They're going to test us in something that we've proven, UNC 2020, that if you run at us and if you know how to run at us, we didn't have any answers. Now we get to see what this coach Kevin Steele and coach Charlie Strong defense, how they are going to in-game adjust. One of the beautiful things I did see was that, Mark, I talked about how bad the defense was in the first half. The defense in the second half was a completely different defense. The defense later on in the second quarter was a completely different defense. Why? We didn't have film on the Bethune-Cookman offense. We didn't have film on how they were going to attack us, and we had to make in-game adjustments. And you saw it get better over time. This time, we're going to play Southern Miss. We do have film on them. We have film on them from last season. Same coordinator, same running back, similar offensive line, same scheme. So we'll have film on what they do well. Now, can we prove it in game to be able to stop them on a consistent basis?
Wholesome one. Sometimes when we're talking scheduling, we talk about it from an entertainment standpoint. We would love to see Miami play them and play them and play them, and wouldn't it be interesting Texas and USC and so forth. Would you give any thought to, when you're scheduling opponents, thinking, we could play Navy or we could play Air Force, and they're the obvious examples because of the option, the offense that they run. But we don't want to play them because that slows down our defensive progress. We got to stop for a week and be like, drive this into everybody's heads to play a triple option, and it kind of takes us off our game because the rest of the time we're facing, first-rate quarterbacks in the ACC that are going to be chucking it 40 times. So why schedule a team like that?
Mark, I don't know if that gets put into the situation. I know that I think some coaches, the other thing about scheduling that a lot of people aren't honest about is everyone in that room is probably not going to be coaching in that game when we schedule it. I mean, the
Sure.
Alabama game was scheduled in 2017 when Mark Richt was our head coach and Malik Rozier was our quarterback. I don't know if anybody that was on that team in 2017 was still on the same team we played them in 2021, coach or player wise. Okay, so you also look at the fact that these teams can test you in certain ways, but you also want to win. Okay, the ultimate goal of playing the game is to win every week. But I also get that you want to test your team. Because if you just want to be 4-0, week 5 every year, you would just schedule a bunch of FCS programs and go that way. And some people do. I mean, we schedule 3 group of 5s or 2 group of 5s in FCS and a powerhouse in A&M. Okay, and we'll look to that. But I think scheduling is more about the financial side of it and geographic location and like money wise, I think is really in the scheduling. I don't necessarily know if a bunch of coaches are in the room with the AD, like, you know what? I think we can get this team because we line up like this, and against that defense, we can do this. Against our offense, we can do. I don't think that's how that really goes down.
Well, no,
I
I
think
know
the
it
AD,
doesn't, but I was just curious as to whether, if you ran the whole thing, that you would, make that a component to scheduling and say, you know what,
oh,
we don't want to waste
absolutely.
our time and play Navy because they're just stunting our progress, our
It could
development.
be. Absolutely, because a lot of that stuff, mainly because a lot of that stuff doesn't translate. The triple option. No, we're not going to get into our rival game. And let's say I'm at Michigan, and Ohio State's not going to whip out the triple option just because they witnessed it against us be successful. That's not what that's not how that works. They would be able to go in and see maybe 1 or 2 plays that they can spring out, but they're not going to come out in an A back and 2 B backs and a 4 up back. They're not going to do that. So the sense of doing it really doesn't make any sense. That's why a lot of teams wouldn't schedule Georgia Tech. We're never going to see this again. Now, if I could do it, I think this was a great one. Yes, Cookman, you do that for the fans, the band. Shout out to the band. You do that. This game here, Southern Miss is a good program. They're going to test us. There's other programs like App State that are good programs. They test you. Coastal Carolina, because what you do is you want to test your young men in different facets. Okay, this team is a run team. This team is a pass team. This team is a FCS juggernaut. This team is a Sun Belt champion perennial. Let's see us against them, because you can take that film, the good, the bad, the ugly, and be able to coach off of that. Okay. And that's just how the coaches think about it. And like you said, if it was up to me, that's how I would do it. And I think Miami's schedule sets up really good that way. Most people would have done Bethune Cookman, Southern Miss, Middle Tennessee State, and then A&M with the bye. But I think this lines up really good because though these 2 games test us differently, A&M is going to test us big time. But then you get to lick your wounds, or you get to a point where, all right, Will Sky, don't do that to me now, baby. Don't do that to me now. You get to the point where if you lick those wounds and if you did get a big win, you can come home, come down to earth against a Middle Tennessee State going into your bye, as opposed to be smelling yourself for 2 weeks going into the bye and didn't have North Carolina come down, who's averaging 50 plus points right now. All right. So that's the thing. You got to be careful with that one.
So I didn't see one play of this game. I got to tell you, obviously there's a lot better football on, and I got to keep track of everybody possible. So, but I see in the box score, Jake Garcia, whatever, 7 for 7, 8 for 8, whatever the number was. Um, were you able to get anything from his performance? Was there anything there? Did he go downfield at all?
No, not too many of them went downfield at all. They 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 they, uh, they were very careful with it, Mark. I don't even think we called a nine route or a post or anything like that. I saw a bunch of crossing routes and curls, and a lot of people, Mark, they didn't like it. Why are we not bombing the ball? Throw it deep. I want to hear them go, oh, bleh. That's the thing we say in South Florida when people score touchdowns, bombs, or whatever. But I think Coach Cristobal's viewpoint of if we can't execute the little things right, if we can't do those things at a high level, we don't get to do the other stuff. If I can't call a 23 dive, if I can't call 25 stretch, if I can't do tight end pop pass, if we can't convert slants on third and second, or if we can't do those little things and be able to do that against somebody else like Bethune Cookman, then we won't be able to loosen up the defense to be able to go and do bombs and posts because they come out in cover three to start out. They come out in man to start. They're going to load the box to stop the run. And then you complete these passes to loosen it up and then get a chance to go back to executing the short stuff. All right. But in Jake Garcia's statements about Jake Garcia, I really like what I saw from him, man. He likes to, he has a nice touch on his ball. He doesn't have quite the zip that TBD does, like that boom. He has more of that boom, 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 boom. Like he just has a way of hitting all these different guys. He likes to put it out in front of them in stride. So I like Jake Garcia. And I like Jake Garcia moving forward as a starting quarterback at Miami. Once TVD, whether that be this year or next year, moves on. I like Jake a lot, man.
Wholesome one. So one of the units that has obviously underperformed in recent years, you addressed the offensive line, but the linebackers as well. Did you get some positive takes from the linebackers? Maybe not.
Our young men are working very hard, and they're lifting weights and they're showing up on time. And they're good leaders on that defensive side of the football at the linebacker position. Wesley Basaint.
Yeah.
Woo!
Okay.
Oh, I loved it. It's there comes a point, and I get it. Everybody does to freshman baby Jesus, save us, freshman linebacker, freshman player. It happens all the time in Miami. Here's my thing. There comes a point where people just look natural. It doesn't look like they're trying too hard or it's just smooth. It's like watching Jerry Rice run routes. It just was smooth. Then you watch Michael Irvin run routes, and I love Michael Irvin. He is the GOAT for this U. But he just ran so like boom, 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 But you watch Jerry just
Yeah.
it looked natural watching Wesley Basaint play the linebacker position. He wasn't overthinking. He knew where his reads were. He knew his keys. It looked very smooth, like the transition from high school to college was smoother for him. Sometimes people, based on the scheme that they're running in high school, it can be a tough transition. Well, coach, I used to read it this way, and I used to do my read step this way. Or it's kind of hard to break them of that, but he didn't come across like that. I loved it, man. I really love watching him get there, rally. I witnessed his first tackle, so that was real cool for West Basaint. But I like watching West Basaint. I love watching Chase Smith run down on special teams. I was very impressed with that also. Um, and it looks like our guys are really blending well in strength, conditioning, and nutrition very, very, very well. So those are the two kind of bright spots at linebacker, I would say. Some of the issues that I saw are still there. And like I said, some people were nameless, but we still have some issues there, and I'm hoping we can find some answers. And I don't know how soon or how fast, or Coach Kevin still said something that made me think maybe they're just waiting on some people to be able to get the playbook a little more. Maybe they'll have some PT, but I think the competition, because we took a big step in recruiting at that position recently, even to the point we got a borderline 5-star and a 5-star in some people's um, evaluation. And Malik Bryant, he doesn't show up until next year, but I think it'll be a great competition at that position moving forward. But Wes Basaint, thank you. Thank you for coming, man, because he was going to Florida, Mark. He was going to go to Florida because things weren't looking good at Miami, and he would have helped beat Utah in that big game for them. Uh, you know, good for them, good on them. But God, I'm happy he's a K. Really happy to see him out there doing well. I'll ask you, Art.
Yeah.
You know what we do the last 10 minutes of every show? We talk about
Yeah.
college football. We don't all we
Sure.
kind of take off the cane shades and we talk about college ball.
Or the
What a
NFL, that's
week.
starting tonight.
Oh yeah, NFL is tonight
You know what
too.
I'll say real quick, wholesome one, because you were talking about the difference between Rice and Irvin. You know what two players flashed in my mind as soon as you said that at another position? Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers. Peyton Manning, I don't think
Ooh.
it's just how robotic he was. And when I say robotic, that's a compliment. He's an all-time great. But
Oh yeah, no questions asked.
you see those videos of him the way he practiced, and we all know how intense he was. And then he was in the film room all the time, and he ran the offense, and so everything was like he was always like everything was so intense and precise, and the way he dropped back to pass, because you'd see all those videos of the way he practiced and the way he would like do his feet, and everything was
Mm-hmm.
very robotic. You see Aaron Rodgers out there, and it's just kind of like flip your wrist. It's just
It was just natural.
yeah.
It's just and that's where I talk about smooth. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you got your try hard people that just and they succeed too. And you have people who are just, hey man, I got this thing. I look at even on a Miami team when you didn't get a chance, you probably didn't get a chance to notice this, but I look at a guy like Nigel Lee Kelly, the way he rushes the passer, smooth, natural, just a nice bender, leaner, just a smooth guy. Yeah, he lost a bunch. He lost some reps and left some gaps open that he doesn't know how the defense works together yet. But he's 18. He's 18-year-old young man. It's different. I look at a 22-year-old young man at Jafari Harvey, the way he rushes a passer, he's like boom, 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 boom. He's just such a hard rusher when he going after the quarterback. But again, it just not saying that one way is better than the other. Is just saying that you see a big difference, and you see what comes to someone naturally as someone who's really really going after similar to dancing. You watch some people dance, you're like, whoa, he's not even trying, or she's not even trying. You see some people and they have to get the face, and they gotta go super hard, and what you can see they're counting in their head 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's just you see other people, they just elegant with it, move and moonwalk, and it's just like, whoa, that guy got it, or that girl got it.
For sure.
Yep,
All right.
yep.
What do you
So
got for me?
week one, Mark.
Yep.
How first of all, how does it feel for you to get college football? I mean, week 0, we had some games. The backyard brawl, man. I'm at the facilities like, oh crap, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Ever going back and I've always wanted West Virginia and the ACC Coastal. I think it would be a great move for them geographically and a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Miami, Louisville as a cross rival. I think it would make sense for them in the Coastal. Kick Duke out. Give us West Virginia. Send Duke to the Ivy League or something. Even though they've won our division just as much as Miami. Yes. But anyhow, I
And
think
there's something called basketball.
oh, true. Yeah. Duke basketball is kind of elite. But anyhow, and your academic prestige,
Yeah.
that too. But yeah, man, it was. I was happy to see college football back. Your week 0 and your week 1. How did it feel to get it back? And what were some of your favorite games to watch live or rewatch?
Well, we talk on here. So, folks, if you just watch us on the Miami channel, consider that I'm filling up 25 channels. And so it's nonstop producing videos, trying to come up with good topics. And with the transfer portal and with recruiting and all that, sure, there's enough to talk about that's fresh and new, and with all this expansion and stuff. But still, just talking about the same teams and the same games and going over it during the off season is just like the reason we do all this is so we can watch football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want to see football games. I want to be able to watch football. That's the entertainment. We go through all this other stuff that we talk about. So much was talked about NIL, transfer portal, and all that, and you finally get to the point of the whole deal. And that's watching the young men out there competing. And yeah, I love football for so many different reasons. I love the strategy. I love the athleticism, the competitiveness on the field. I love the structure, just talking about organization and how that is all built from the ground up, and whether that's an NFL team or a college football team program, how it's built, how it's the philosophies that go into doing all that. And then you take it to the historical and all that. I love that. So
Right.
anytime we can get back on the field and we can see college football at its very best, and that's the product on the field, then the games don't, an individual game may disappoint, but there's never a weekend that disappoints because there's always crazy games going on somewhere. And we had it definitely this last weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, and yeah, putting 2 weeks back to back, but we got a chance. We handled business early on and got a chance to come back and sit and watch it, the closers. And I know Ohio State, Notre Dame. If you go back and watch it, was a good game. Now, if you had all the hype behind it and you were expecting to see this spectacle, you might have been somewhat disappointed. They kind of did a flip. People
Yep.
weren't talking about the UF and Utah game. They were talking about Ohio State and Notre Dame because of the brands and all that. These two teams playing each other just feels right. I've always said Notre Dame feels like a Big Ten team and should be in the Big Ten. It would be great to see this every year or every other year, or whatever, if they were to cross division rival, even put them on the Minnesota, Iowa side, don't matter. Put them in the Big Ten and let them play because they look like they belong. And I'm flipping back and forth between the two, and then we had kind of split screens, and then I'm watching the Utah UF, and I'm like, okay, all right. And you start paying attention to that one a little more, and I watched that one from beginning to end, and
Yep. I did too. Both of them.
that was interesting. It was very, very interesting for them. And the beautiful part for me is I think COVID showed us what this sport missed. It felt too Sunday like during
Yeah.
COVID because the fans didn't really matter. It was just playing ball, line up, play football, and go home. Felt like we were watching a bunch of team scrimmage. But then 21 came and it was like, thank God the fans are back. But it still felt kind of because we were still in it. We were still dealing with, what happened during that 3 year stretch of, 3 years, 19, 20, and 21 of COVID. But this year, it felt different. Like that was behind us. We kind of moved in. Some big stellar names are going at it. Some coaches are at different programs, and it just felt big. And to watch the swamp, and I'm no Florida fan by any means, but to watch Utah go into the swamp and that be a great game. I flip to the next channel, and Notre Dame is in the horseshoe. They're playing them in a great game, regardless of how people want to downplay it. That was a great physical game. The scheming that they were doing, with our former head coach Al Golden as a defense coordinator at Notre Dame, what him and Marcus Freeman came up with to kind of keep the game all in front of them, while you also had Ohio State trying to prove to the world that they're this run team now and hard nosed and hit you in the mouth. When they could have easily said, all right, we proved that. 4 wide, ready? It was nothing that they could do if they would have went 4 wide, and you lose a big time first round, wide receiver, and still go out there and execute at a super high level. I was impressed. You see the highlights of App State in North Carolina, and you're like, what's going on there? You look earlier in the week, Old Dominion and Va Tech. I mean, it was just like, or Virginia Tech, excuse me, to my Virginia Tech guy. He hates when I say Va Tech. My bad, man. It was just like back and forth, different games. And if you just take a chance, and that's why I say to Miami fans, and they get upset with me, I'm not saying you got to pick a second team, but watch all of college football. When the Canes game is off or done, watch some other stuff. Appreciate what's happening all across the country, because then you can really value good or great football and see what other people are doing and want that brought to your program. And I think it's really helped us out, man. It was a great day, almost a great weekend from Thursday all the way through Sunday night. LSU kind of made me upset and kind of blew the cash, and I decided to buy a round of shots right after that end of that game. I wasn't too happy about the end of that game, but good on Florida. Good on Florida for that, for representing the South against the Pac-12. But in Oregon, woo! Oh man,
Yeah.
all that off-season talk, all that, and I get it. We played Cookman. Y'all played the national champs. I get it, man. But woo, man. Oh, and I feel bad for Justin Flo because that's one of my favorite players, and I want him to be a Cane and Noah Sewell, and Georgia just sprung a completely different trap on him. But and you know what's nuts? That is literally still the highest rated Oregon team in program history. They have the most 5 stars, the highest rated 4 stars they've ever had, and they just ended up running into the wrong team that day. So
That Ohio State Notre Dame game, speaking of high ratings, the Ohio State Michigan game was the highest rated game last year on television, as it almost always is by a large margin. But anyway, that somebody told me this, then I looked it up. The Ohio State Notre Dame game would have been the second highest rated game in 2021 for the entire season. How many people watch that game? I had the App State North Carolina game on a third screen. So I'm not smart enough to watch, like, some of these people say they've got 8 screens on a wall or whatever. That confuses me. I can't do that.
It's hard to follow that way, yeah.
Because I need to understand what's going on in a game. I want to know the situation. I can't just be seeing plays. So 2 is about as much as I can do. Watch 2 games at the same time. And as you know, I'm trying to watch as much as I can. Like, I got everything DVR. I'm DVRing like 17, 18 games on Saturday, eliminating commercials, just watching football.
Right.
But 2 games. And then I usually have a third screen, but I don't know what's going on. So I had North Carolina App State on a third screen. So I really can't tell you, besides looking over there and seeing a play every so often and seeing a score. But after seeing the scoring barrage in the fourth quarter, I still need to go back. I want to go back and watch that fourth quarter, because I didn't think it would be possible for 2 teams to score 10 touchdowns in one quarter.
40 points in one quarter they gave up, Mark.
Yeah, so they scored 6, and North Carolina, like, I could almost believe that if it was like a blowout game, like this is Alabama crushing Middle Tennessee State, and they scored 6 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and Middle Tennessee just kept going 3 and out, 3 and out. But North Carolina's scoring 4 touchdowns at the same time. So they're scoring 10 touchdowns in a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yeah, I've only had a chance to watch the highlights of that. I haven't had a chance to really break it down because we're still a bit of ways away from UNC, and
Sure.
I don't want to, spend extra time on them. We're breaking down Southern Miss. Okay,
Yeah.
that's who gets our full focus this week, and we still got an eye out on Texas A&M because who does Texas A&M play this weekend, Mark?
Oh, they've got App State. Yeah.
Which I believe that they're going to make A&M pull out a little bit more than they normally would have because of that game. And I'm saying that App State's not putting them on upset alert, but I just think that they'll give them a nice run for their money a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That will be interesting. My goodness. Yeah, I'm going to sit down with like the cut down version because it'll only take like 10 minutes and watch that fourth quarter because I just want to see how 10 touchdowns got scored in 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
That's crazy.
and just to finish it out on a Miami note again. I've had time to kind of come down from it. If you were to watch my Monday show, you would think I was depressed or something because that film it can upset you. But that's also connected to your expectations, and I had to understand it's the first game of the season. Gotta calm down. Gotta take a breath, and you could be upset about some stuff, but you don't come to conclusions off the one game. That doesn't make any sense to do. You can look at some things. You could have some opinions about some things, but it makes sense to give it a couple games. And if you're still seeing some of the same issues, then now you can get aggressive about something. But give us some time. So I had to kind of come down myself. But Mark, I decided to hit play right after finishing a film review, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but we're human, we make mistakes, and I never came on and disrespected anybody. And I'm not that kind of person, but I definitely was. I was a little upset. I probably should not have hit live right after finishing a film session. So ditto to me. Make sure I don't do that anymore moving forward. But when you try to juggle so many things and you got to get a live in because we just had a game and you got to do a film review that you want to release on a certain day, and it all kind of juggled differently for me. But moving forward, I think Miami, we're going to be fine. Were there some things I was a little disappointed in and wasn't happy about what I witnessed? Absolutely. Was I a little emotional because it's my favorite team? Absolutely. But got to kind of dial it back and calm down a bit. So I think we'll do well. I'm excited about what Southern Miss is going to test. I think Southern Miss can score. Not saying that they're going to score 40 points, but I give them about 17. I think Miami comes out this week and we win 42-17 Miami. I think it'll be a nice first half, maybe a little bit within 10 to 14 points in the first half. I think Miami pulls away in the second half. Gets out of there 42-17. But I think that there will be some coaching moments. There'll be some things that we can see that we did wrong, some run fits we didn't do, some pass rush we didn't do, maybe some drop balls, maybe some dropped interceptions. It'll be some things in there that we can do to coach off of so that we can be fully prepared for this upcoming big game against Texas A&M and a 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. And we'll get a chance to see what we look like on that big stage against a pretty established program. And that'll be that.
Folks, we've got the post game here at the Voice of College Football Miami. So after Southern Miss, check us out on post game. We got our man Brennan Traveling Fools hosting post game along with last week it was Slim Shady Canes and whomever else stops by that Brennan can round up for Miami post game. Get on over to the Wholesome Ones channel and be back here next Thursday. That's why it's
Absolutely.
important. Sorry to cut you off, Wholesome One. That's why it's important, everyone, to subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, because sometimes we got to switch it up.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you never know. Sometimes we go on at 3 p.m. It's funny you say that, Mark, every week. You're like, could be 1 p.m., could be 8 p.m., could be Friday instead of Thursday. But if you're a notification squad, then you would be, oh, snap. You put your headphones in and get to listening to this great quality content. Before I go, I just want to say again, Thank you, Mark, as always, for the opportunity. I continue to make sure I'm studying. I'm on my P's and Q's so that I can represent my family, my institution that I love, with great grace and humility. But I do get fired up and excited about it because that's the passion I have for the University of Miami and the passion I have for football. And I'm thankful to you for allowing me to be me. You never tell me to calm down or temper it down. You never try to water me. You just let me be me. And for that, I truly appreciate that because it's representation is really, really important. And showing the personality, got the hair out. You never care. You let me be me, and that is super, super important. And that's why I say thank you. The only couple of things we'll ever never see eye to eye on is Elvis, that 2003 national championship game, and I can't really think of a third. Those two things we'll probably never get. We'll never
Probably
get eye
never.
to eye
We'll work on the first one though.
on. We put to bed the second one. It's been 20 years, and I'm done with it, man. Hopefully, we get a program that's on Ohio State's level at some point. I'll put it behind me. I'll never like it, but it's time to move on.
Well, Mario and the boys are on their way.
Yeah.
It looks good. So
Absolutely. All right, Mark. Thank you
all right,
so
well,
much for the opportunity. God bless, and as always, go Canes.